Okay, in this video, I'm going to give a basic review of The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. I'm going to discuss the pros, the cons, and whether or not you should get the book. And hopefully, if you watch till the end of the video, you should be able to get a good idea of whether or not you want to purchase this book. And trust me, you want to get the book. The way Robert Greene starts every one of his laws in this book is he tells a story, a relevant nonfiction story of, it usually pertains in the past, obviously not really the present, but they're stories that essentially enforce and give example to his laws and why they're so relevant. It's probably one of the best aspects of the book. Every story is captivating, talking from, King Henry the 14th all the way to Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller. The stories he begins each law with are very captivating and help reinforce the idea of the law and what he's essentially trying to tell you. Starting with the pros of this book, it basically covers every element of life, every element of emotion, anywhere from dealing with narcissism to envy, all the way up to coping with the harsh reality of death, all the way to being aware of how social groups and your generation, the generation you're born into, how they negatively affect you, and how you can use basically just all of these different elements of life in yourself to elevate yourself above everyone else and use that elevation to succeed more in life and achieve more capabilities from your higher being rather than your lower being. There's 18 sections in this book, 18 chapters, 18 laws. They're all very relevant. I couldn't find one of them that, sometimes you read a book and there's certain parts of the book that don't really, resonate, or they just feels like extra stuff that didn't really need to be in the book. I did not find any of that in this book. Every chapter I was completely, involved in it, and it never failed to capture my attention, and I never failed to gain some new perspective or way of viewing life. Robert Greene's written another book called The 48 Laws of Power. I'm sure if you're interested in this book, you've already heard of that book. This book, I believe, is probably a better starter. If you haven't read The 48 Laws of Power, I would read The Laws of Human Nature first. This is what it looks like, by the way. Kind of looks similar to The 48 Laws of Power. This sets a better foundation for going towards life. The 48 Laws of Power can sometimes, for some people, maybe fill them with a little too much grandiosity, make their egos a little too, full, and make them feel like they're a lot more powerful than they actually are. This book does what the 48 Laws of Power does, but it's a lot more grounding and a lot less ego-filling, I guess you could say. There's a lot less ways you could use this book for harm. One of the biggest pros to this book, and what you have the most to gain from, is the amount of awareness it gives you. I don't think there's a single emotion or action or word somebody could say or any of that could come from you where you won't step back now and question why you're saying it or why you're doing something, or vice versa coming from other people. It teaches you to not only become aware, but to harness all of these different emotions and aspects of life and use them to your advantage. And Robert Greene, a couple times in the book, mentions that using these forces for your own good and using them to your advantage is essentially a force multiplier to your life and to whatever aspect of life you're trying to accomplish, whatever goals you're trying to accomplish. It gives you that extra fuel and that force, that extra advantage now to go forward and to achieve whatever it is you're trying to do. It also tackles areas of being better at persuading people, how to calm your own ego, how to there's one of the laws is the law of grandiosity, and it tells you how to not get too caught up in your own interests and try not to be too confident in yourself, because that's a very real thing that you can do. Overall, it really is an eye-opening book, and it helps you in all areas of your life. I don't think he misses a single part of life in this book. You have everything to gain from reading this, honestly, and I don't see what harm it could do. Many pros, and is almost the perfect book. I do believe there are a few cons, Nothing that should dissuade you from purchasing or reading the book, though. I would say that there are a few parts at the end of every law where he gives examples of certain types of narcissists or certain types of envy or certain types of toxic leaderships, stuff like that. And I feel like some of those are a little irrelevant, seeing as though there's basically an infinite type of combinations of each of the toxic personality traits he describes. Um, basically, anyways, so basically, what I'm trying to say is that some of that information may never be relevant to you. And the only other con to the book, I would say, is that it is a whopping 596 pages. And the only reason that's a con is because it will take you, unless you have hours and hours of your day every day, it will take you a great deal of time to get through this book. That may be a con to some people. Some people want to get through a book fast. This is definitely not a book you're going to finish in a week, unless you have like an absurd amount of time or you read absurdly fast. But the pages are also super big, words tiny. It's a lot of information, and it may be hard to retain all of it, but it's still worth the read for sure. Those are just two minor cons that I would put out there. Overall, do I think you should purchase The Laws of Human Nature? 100% yes. If you are on considering the verge, when maybe I won't get it, maybe I will, just trying to consider it, we're wondering if it's worth the money. It is. I promise you won't regret it. If you do regret it, you can come back here and yell at me in the comments. I'm open to criticism. And if you have any differing opinions about the book that you'd like to share in the comments for other people to read, please do. All opinions and views are welcome. My view of the book essentially is that it is almost perfect. It is incredible. It's unique. It's different. It doesn't repeat the same garbage that some help books do. It's just its own kind of special, and I highly recommend that you read it, and you will not regret it. Thank you for watching, and yeah, enjoy the book.